The last breath of Zarveth, the twin suns of Zerion Prime, cast merciless shadows across the endless dunes as Vaelra dragged her broken body from the twisted wreckage of the command deck. Her cybernetic left arm sparked intermittently, neural interfaces, crackling with damaged feedback that sent waves of pain through her skull. The once mighty warship Zarveth lay scattered across 3 kilometers of desert, its hull plates buried beneath rivers of sand that had already begun their eternal claim. Vaelra's species, the Kitharan, were known throughout the galaxy for their resilience and their bond with technology. Her pale blue skin bore the ritual scars of an engineer's apprenticeship, while bioluminescent tattoos traced the pathways of her cybernetic enhancements. But now, those very implants that had made her invaluable to the crew threatened to kill her as damaged circuits overloaded her nervous system. She stumbled toward what remained of Zarveth's central spire, where the ship's quantum heart still pulsed with fading energy. Around her, the desert wind carried the acrid smell of burning metal and the silence of death. 300 souls had called this ship home. Engineers, warriors, diplomats, and scientists from 17 different worlds, all united under the banner of the Galactic Coalition. Now their voices were forever stilled. The ambush had come without warning, Sekthari raiders appearing from a dimensional fold that their sensors couldn't detect. Zarveth's shields had held for precious seconds before the concentrated plasma. Bombardment overwhelmed their defenses. Captain Thyros had ordered an emergency jump, but the navigation array had been damaged. Instead of reaching friendly space, they'd crashed into this forgotten world at the galaxy's edge. Vaelra pressed, her hand against Zarveth's hull, feeling the ship's biosynthetic nervous system respond weakly to her touch. The Kitharan had pioneered the art of living starships, vessels that grew rather than being built, ships that could heal themselves and adapt to threats. But Zarveth was dying, her organic components failing without the specialized nutrients and energy flows needed to sustain life. "I won't let you die alone, old friend," Vaelra whispered, her voice lost in the howling wind. She pulled her engineering kit from the debris, its contents scattered but salvageable. The diagnostic tablet flickered to life, displaying Zarveth's vital signs in failing holographic projections. Core temperature dropping, cellular regeneration at 12%, estimated time to complete system failure, 72 hours. 72 hours to accomplish the impossible, to repair quantum drives with primitive tools, to restore life support systems buried under tons of sand, to convince a dying giant to live again. The rational part of her mind catalogued 1,000 ways this would fail. But Vaelra had never been rational when it came to her ships, as the first of Zerion's twin suns began to set, painting the desert in shades of amber and crimson. Vaelra began her work. She would save Zarveth, or die trying. In the distance, something stirred beneath the ancient sands, awakened by the ship's exotic energy signature. The planet had been sleeping for millennia, but now it was beginning to dream. Echoes in the sand. The first night nearly killed her, as Zerion's twin suns disappeared. Beyond the horizon, the temperature plummeted 40 degrees, turning the blazing desert into a frozen wasteland. Vaelra had managed to restore emergency power to a single compartment deep within Zarveth's belly, but the life support systems struggled against the massive hull breaches that let in the bitter night air. She worked by the light of her cybernetic eye, its built-in illumination casting eerie shadows on the walls of what had once been the bioengineering bay. Her fingers moved with practiced precision, rerouting power conduits around damaged sections, coaxing life from systems that should have been beyond repair. The ship's organic neural network responded sluggishly to her ministrations, like a patient. emerging from deep anesthesia. "Come on, Zarveth," she murmured, interfacing directly with the ship's consciousness through the neural jack at the base of her skull. The connection was painful, damaged pathways sending static through her thoughts. But it allowed her to feel what the ship felt: fear, confusion, the slow fade toward oblivion. Through Zarveth's failing sensors, Velra detected the first anomalies. Seismic readings that suggested movement far beneath the planet's surface. Electromagnetic disturbances that followed patterns too regular to be natural. Something vast was stirring in the deep places of Zerion Prime, drawn by the quantum signatures leaking from Zarveth's damaged core. By dawn, she had managed to restore minimal life support to 3 compartments and had begun the delicate process of growing new hull tissue to seal the worst breaches. Catharan biotechnology required careful nurturing, the right nutrients, the correct electromagnetic frequencies, precise temperature control. Working with damaged equipment in a hostile environment, it was like performing surgery with broken tools during an earthquake. The second sun crested the horizon as Velra emerged from the ship to survey the damage in daylight. The sight was heartbreaking. Zarveth's graceful curves were broken, her living hull scarred and torn. Debris fields stretched for kilometers, marking the violent path of their crash landing. But she was alive, barely, and that meant hope. Velra began the laborious process of salvaging components from the wreckage. The main reactor was buried under 200 tons of sand, but the auxiliary power cores were accessible. She dragged superconductor cables across the desert, ignoring the way the twin suns baked her exposed skin and made her cybernetic implants. A burn like brands. It was while she was extracting a quantum resonator from the twisted remains of the navigation array that she first saw them. Tracks in the sand that hadn't been there the night before. They were enormous, each print as wide as her outstretched arms, with a pattern unlike anything in her xenobiology databases. Whatever had made them had passed within meters of her position while she slept. The tracks led toward a distant rock formation that jutted from the dunes like the bones of some prehistoric beast. As Velra watched, the rocks seemed to shimmer. In the heat haze, their outlines shifting in ways that hurt her eyes. The planet's electromagnetic field was fluctuating, interfering with her cybernetic systems and sending cascades of error messages through her augmented vision. She forced herself to focus on the task at hand. Zarveth's condition was deteriorating. Rapidly, the ship's biological systems were entering a state of cellular breakdown that would soon become irreversible. Every hour of delay meant more damage, more systems failing beyond recovery. The mysterious tracks and impossible geology would have to wait. But as she worked, Velra couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The desert around her felt suddenly alive, malevolent, as if the very sand was taking notice of the wounded ship and its lone guardian. The sleeping guardian, on the 3rd day, the sandstorms began. Velra watched from Zarveth's observation deck as walls of dust and debris marched across the horizon like ancient armies. The meteorological data made no sense. The storm patterns were too organized, too purposeful. They circled the crash site in perfect spirals, as if something was directing their movement. She had made progress. The main power core was online at 30% capacity, and she'd managed to restore atmospheric processes to 6 compartments. Zarveth's biological systems were responding to treatment, new tissue slowly growing to seal hull breaches. But it wasn't enough. The ship needed her quantum drives to achieve escape velocity, and those systems required materials she simply didn't have. The storm hit at midday, turning the world into a howling nightmare of abrading sand and lightning. Velra sealed herself inside the ship's central core, where the walls were thickest and the organic shielding could protect her from the electrical discharge crackling through the dust clouds. Through Zarveth's external senses, she watched the storm rage with impossible fury. That's when she saw it, a shadow moving within the tempest, too large and too purposeful to be debris. Something was out there, using the storm as cover to approach. The downed ship. Vaelra activated every sensor array she could spare power for, trying to penetrate the chaos outside. The readings were fragmentary, confused by electromagnetic interference. But what she saw defied explanation. The shadow was massive, easily the size of Zarveth herself, and it moved with organic fluidity despite appearing to be made of living stone. Her xenobiology databases found no matches, but the quantum resonance patterns reminded her of something from the deepest archives of Kithaeron lore. Ancient texts spoke of the architects, a race that had shaped worlds and built monuments that spanned star systems before vanishing into legend. They were said to sleep in the hearts of dead planets, waiting for some cosmic signal to wake them. Most scholars dismissed such stories as mythology, but the quantum signatures Vaelra was detecting matched theoretical models for architect technology. The storm passed as suddenly as it had begun, leaving an eerie calm in its wake. Vaelra emerged from the ship to find the desert transformed. The sand had been scoured away in perfect geometric patterns, revealing glimpses of an underlying structure made from the same impossible material as the distant rock formations. Lines of force traced themselves across the landscape, all converging on Zarveth's position. More troubling were the changes to the ship itself. The quantum resonance from her drives had intensified during the storm, and the readings suggested that something was actively drawing power from Zarveth's core. The drain was subtle but growing stronger, as if the planet itself was feeding on the ship's exotic energy. Vaelra interfaced directly with Zarveth's consciousness, feeling the ship's confusion and fear. Through their neural link, she experienced flashes of alien memories, visions of vast cities that grew like living things, of beings made from crystallized starlight, of technologies that blurred the line between science and magic. The visions weren't coming from Zarveth's databanks. They were bleeding through from something else, something that shared the same quantum frequency as the ship's drives. As night fell, the rock formations on the horizon began to glow with soft, pulsing light. The patterns matched the bioluminescent tattoos on Vaelra's own skin, the ritual markings that connected Kithaeron engineers to their ships. Somehow, impossibly, the planet was trying to establish a neural link with her. She stood at the edge of Zarveth's hull, staring out at the alien lights and feeling the weight of cosmic forces she barely understood. The ship needed 4 more days to complete essential repairs, but something told her they didn't have that long. Whatever slept beneath Xerion Prime was waking up, and it had taken notice of the wounded starship. Vaelra made her choice. If the planet wanted to communicate, she would listen, but she would do it on her terms, with Zarveth's quantum shielding to protect her mind from whatever alien intelligence stirred in the deep. The next phase of her impossible task was about to begin. The neural bridge Vaelra descended into Zarveth's deepest chamber, where the ship's quantum heart pulsed with ethereal light. The biomechanical core was a masterpiece of Kithaeron engineering, a fusion of living tissue and exotic matter that could bend the laws of physics to her will. If she was going to establish contact with whatever intelligence controlled this world, she would need every advantage her species' technology could provide. She began by constructing a neural bridge, a delicate network of organic conduits that would allow her to interface with the planet's consciousness while maintaining her connection to Zarveth. The work required precision beyond anything she'd attempted before. One mistake could burn out her cybernetic implants or trap her mind in an alien thought pattern she couldn't escape. As she worked, the ship's sensors detected increasing activity beneath the desert. Seismic readings showed vast structures shifting position deep underground, while electromagnetic scans revealed energy patterns that reminded her of neural activity in a massive brain. Xerion Prime wasn't just a planet, it was a living entity, and it was slowly awakening after eons of slumber. The neural bridge took 18 hours to complete. Vielra had to grow new neural pathways using Zaveth's biological systems, carefully integrating them with her own cybernetic enhancements. The process was exhausting and dangerous, flooding her system with foreign proteins and exotic particles that made her cells burn with fever. When the bridge was ready, she hesitated. Once she opened the connection, there would be no way to predict what she might encounter. The intelligence behind those lights could be benevolent, or it could be something so alien that contact alone might drive her insane. But Zaveth's condition was deteriorating, and the power drain from the planet was growing stronger. She was running out of options. Vielra activated the neural bridge and felt her consciousness expand beyond the boundaries of her physical form. The sensation was overwhelming, like trying to contain an ocean in a teacup. The planetary intelligence was vast, ancient, and utterly inhuman. Its thoughts moved like glaciers, shaped by millennia of experience she couldn't begin to comprehend. Child of the Star Walkers, the voice resonated through her mind like the echo of cosmic wind. Why do you wake the dreamer? Vielra struggled to form coherent thoughts in the face of such alien contact. My ship is dying. I need to repair her and leave this place. The ship that dreams of distant suns, the intelligence mused. Its patterns are familiar. We have seen such vessels before, in the early days when the architects still shaped the void. Images flooded Vielra's mind, memories from the planet's deep past. She saw fleets of ships like Zaveth arriving at this world when it was young and green, carrying beings of light who built impossible cities and terraformed entire star systems. The architects had used this planet as a way station, a place to rest and resupply during their cosmic wanderings. But something had gone wrong. The architects had fled, abandoning their greatest works and leaving behind only automated guardians to watch over their sleeping installations. Xerion Prime had been transformed into a fortress world, its surface scoured clean and its depths turned into a vast neural network designed to protect ancient secrets. You carry their essence, the planetary. Mind observed, studying the quantum patterns in Zaveth's drives. The ship's heart beats with frequencies we remember, but the old powers are fading. We grow weak, Vielra understood. The planet was dying, its ancient systems failing after millions of years without maintenance. It had been feeding on Zaveth's quantum emissions not out of malice, but out of desperate need. The exotic energy was the only thing keeping its consciousness intact. What do you want from us? She asked. Partnership, came the reply. Your ship carries new knowledge, fresh patterns of thought. We offer exchange, power for wisdom, repair, for remembrance. Help us understand what the universe has become, and we will give you what you need to reach the stars. The offer was tempting, but Vielra sensed hidden depths in the planetary intelligence. There were memories it wasn't sharing, purposes it kept hidden. The architects hadn't abandoned this world by choice. They had been driven away by something that even their advanced technology couldn't overcome. As if reading her thoughts, the planet's tone grew darker. The enemy stirs again. Ancient rivals, who sought to unmake what the architects had built. They follow the quantum trails, hunting for the old installations. Your ship's arrival may have already drawn their attention. Through the neural link, Vielra felt the planet's fear, a cosmic terror that dwarfed her own understanding. Whatever was coming was worse than the Sekthari raiders who had destroyed Zaveth's escort fleet. This was something that had fought gods and won. Wings of Resurrection, the revelation of the approaching enemy, changed everything. Vielra's simple rescue mission had become something far more significant, a race to restore not just Zaveth, but to awaken the planet's dormant defenses before Ancient destroyers arrived to finish what they had started eons ago, working with the planetary intelligence, whom she had come to call the Dreamer. Va'ilra began the most ambitious repair project of her career. The planet's vast manufacturing capabilities, dormant for millions of years, slowly came online under her guidance. Automated systems that had built wonders during the age of the architects began producing the exotic materials needed to restore Zarveth's quantum drives. The process was a fusion of Kitharan biotechnology and architect engineering that shouldn't have been possible. Va'ilra watched in amazement as streams of living metal flowed from the planet's depths, reforming themselves into perfect components that integrated seamlessly with Zarveth's organic systems. The ship's hull began to glow with new bioluminescent patterns, marks that identified her as something more than she had been before, but the work came at a cost. The Dreamer's awakening had sent quantum signals rippling across the galaxy, and long-range sensors detected disturbances in nearby star systems. Ships were coming, not rescue vessels, but something far more sinister. The enemy had indeed noticed Zerion Prime's revival and was moving to investigate. Va'ilra pushed herself beyond exhaustion, working 18-hour days to complete the repairs. Her cybernetic implants began to overheat from constant use, and the neural strain of interfacing with both Zarveth and the planetary mind left her consciousness fragmented and strange. She began to see the universe through compound perspectives, her own memories mixing with the ship's experiences and the Dreamer's ancient knowledge. On the seventh day, as the twin suns cast their eternal dance across the desert sky, Zarveth's transformation was complete. The ship that rose from the sand bore only passing resemblance to the vessel that had crashed there. Her hull gleamed with architect metallurgy, while her organic systems pulsed with new purpose. Most importantly, her quantum drives hummed with power beyond anything the Kitharan had achieved before. "She's magnificent," Va'ilra whispered, running her hands along Zarveth's transformed hull. The ship responded to her touch with warmth and what felt like affection. Their neural link had deepened during the repair process, creating a bond that went beyond the normal connection between engineer and vessel. The Dreamer's voice echoed in her mind one final time. "The enemy approaches. 3 days until they breach the system's edge. Zarveth carries our gift now, knowledge and power sufficient to warn your people and perhaps to fight what comes. But know this, Starwalker, the ship remembers all that we have shared. She will find her way home, even if the path leads through darkness." Va'ilra understood. Zarveth had become something new, part Kitharan bioship, part architect artifact, carrying within her quantum drives the accumulated knowledge of a sleeping civilization. If she could reach Coalition space, she could warn them of the ancient threat, and perhaps provide the tools needed to stand against it. As Zarveth's engines ignited for the first time since the crash, Va'ilra felt tears streaming down her face. She had come to this barren world with a dying ship and desperate hope. Now she was leaving with something that might save the galaxy, if she could survive the journey home. The ship rose from the desert like a phoenix of metal and light, leaving behind the slumbering world that had given her new life. Behind them, the Dreamer settled back into patient waiting, its ancient guardians scanning the void for signs of the enemy's approach. The first phase of an cosmic conflict had begun, and Va'ilra and her transformed Zarveth were carrying the key to humanity's survival into the vast darkness between the stars. As they broke atmosphere and engaged the quantum drives, Va'ilra whispered, a promise to the empty space around them. "We won't let you down. Whatever's coming, we'll be ready." The stars ahead burned with possibility and danger in equal measure.